Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'm going to talk about a tarot deck that has been published in fairly recent months, and that is the Zillich Tarot, which has been published by U.S.Games, and it's available in a tin. And here is the tin with the Princess of Cups on the cover, and the artwork was done by Zillich, and it comes with a little white book, and the little white book is quite good, but it's a bit strange in some ways. For example, the information for the Fool card, it actually relates that to the water element, which I've never really heard of before. So I think that's a bit strange. But some of the other information for the other cards is quite good. But for someone who might be learning tarot, the associations are a bit different. So I just thought I'd mention that. So here is the tin. The cardstock is quite good. Here's the back of the cards. And I got this tarot mainly for the art because the artwork is quite unusual. It's really an abstract form of art in some ways. The minor arcana is more abstract than the major cards that I've noticed. And just before I start showing some of the cards that I particularly like, I wanted to mention that this deck is really a hybrid type of deck. It is a Waite-Smith type of deck, and it's kind of crossed with a Thoth deck. So the majors have a bit of a Thoth feel because they have been given the Thoth names for the cards, but the numbering of the cards is still like strength as being number 8, and the justice card is called adjustment, which is called adjustment in the Thoth deck, but it's numbered 11. So the numbering is the same as the Waite-Smith system, even though the names for the cards have been taken from the Thoth deck. And the court cards are like a Thoth deck. They are Queen, Knight, Prince and Princess, which is like a Thoth deck. And the minor cards have words from the Thoth deck, but the minor cards are scenic. So because they have scenes on the minor cards, on the numbered cards, that is not a Thoth deck, because in the Thoth system the pip cards or the numbered cards are always plain pips. So it is one of those hybrid decks that will appear to people to be Thoth inspired, but it is not a Thoth deck. So I wanted to point that out to people, because there are some other decks around that people keep thinking are Thoth decks, but the golden rule is if they have scenic pips particularly, that is not a Thoth deck anyway. So I'll just start by showing some of the cards now that I particularly like. Here is the Magus, which is the Thoth word for the magician. High Priestess. I would have of like this card in a standard size. I quite like it in a tin, but I think the artwork would be a bit better to see in a standard size. Here is the Hierophant. I prefer the artwork in the major arcana rather than the minor arcana because the scenic pips are a bit muted. Chariot. It's an unusual deck and it makes a good contemporary deck. Hermit. Wheel of Fortune. I like the Death card. These cards have a matte finish. The Devil. I really like this card too. I think it really captures the energy or vibe of the Devil. It's probably my favourite card in the deck. Star. I like this one too. The Moon. This one's a bit unusual because that looks like a scorpion rather than a crayfish or crab that you normally see on the Moon card, so that is a bit different. And this is really different too. This is different even to the Thoth deck. This card is called Justice and it's normally the Judgment card. In the Thoth deck, this would be called Eon, the Eon, which means era or new age. But in this deck, the Judgment card is called Justice. And what would normally be the Justice card, that is called Adjustment. And that is normally called Adjustment in the Thoth deck. But to call the card for Judgment, which would normally be the Eon in the Thoth deck, to call that Justice, it's a bit unusual, but I do like the image for that, for this card. So that's the major arcana, and this is why it's a really strange hybrid deck. It is unusual. Okay, so I'm going to show some of the minor cards now, starting with the Wands. It's the Ace of Wands. So you can see the art for the minor cards are quite abstract but interesting. Ace of Wands. I really like this one for the Ten of Wands. And these cards have got the words, the names of the minor cards, the pips from the Thoth deck. So the Ten of Wands is called Oppression in the Thoth deck. And I really like the way the artwork has got this dark side and light side. So it's kind of showing both sides to the Ten of Wands. That there's like an ending, but there's the promise of new life. So I really like that for the Ten of Wands. And the Knight of Wands. Now for the cups. And the cup suit seems quite muted in colour. Here is the Ace of Cups. Quite like this one. Six of Cups, which is called Pleasure, and it's Pleasure in the Thoth deck as well. I think that's a very interesting card. And the Queen of Cups. And the swords. I quite like the swords suit in this deck. I like the way the art is for this suit. Ace of Swords. Five of Swords. Has the word defeat as in the Thoth deck. And I like this Knight of Swords card. I think that's a great card. You can really feel the air of the element for the swords in that card. And now for the discs. The Ace of Discs. And I like this one for the Two of Discs, which is change, and is change in the Thoth deck as well. I think that's a great Two of Discs. You don't normally see it portrayed quite like that. So I really like that card. And the Princess of Discs, which is the same as the Page of Discs. And this one looks quite a bit like the Princess of Discs in the Thoth deck. So even the artwork in this, it's kind of, it's like a modern Art Nouveau style in a way, but the art and the colours are quite interesting. Princess of Discs. Okay, so they're the cards from the Zillich Tarot. that has only just been released in the last few months. So I wanted to show this deck and talk a bit about it because it is quite an unusual deck. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.